What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Undefiled with your host AC
Ivy.
and we are excited to be back to be able to share with you all again for our second episode, the second episode of our premiere or our inaugural first season, which is titled "From Dating to Marriage." And so we're going to go ahead and put that on the bottom of the screen for those that are watching for our video cast. The name of the second episode is "Marriage."
For what?
Full way. All right. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be dealing with on today. What's going on, Deaconess Cook? Thank you for tuning in. All right. So we already got some people in the live audience. And also, we got a little surprise for you at the end of our dialogue. We got a new game that we just found on the internet, and it's called the Connecting Couples Deck. I think the name of it is actually Tonight's Conversation. So the winner, which will be announced later, the winner of the giveaway is actually going to get a free copy of this, unopened, of course, free copy of this game that'll be sent to them. So that is the prize for the winner of the giveaway. But you'll actually get to see us or hear us play this game also at the end of the session, so you can kind of get a feel of what that is. So make sure you stick around for that. All right. So first off, marriage for what? So why get married? I was gonna title it "Why Should I Get Married," but I thought, hey, there's somebody that got a movie out called "Why Did I Get Married." I don't want to get any type of legal lawsuits, So I said we'll just kind of flip it a little bit. But basically, that's what we're talking about. Like, why would you want to get married? So the first thing, and I'll say this, and I'll ask you, babe, if you want to chime in on it. Why do you think? How do you feel people look at marriage today?
Oh, in these days and times, people, well, I would say our generation, and it could be generation in the past as well, they look at marriage like something that's not really needed. They feel like, we can just, what's the word? Not co-parent. What is it?
Cohabit.
Cohabit with each other for the rest of their life. And I just feel like they don't think marriage is needed.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, even with some people who I talk to, they kind of look at marriage in a negative light. They look at the commitment that it takes to be in a marriage. They look at the longevity of it. They look at the legal. A big word to use would be ramifications that come along with being married.
What's the word, babe?
Ramifications.
Ramifications. Spell it?
No, we're not going to try to spell it either, because I think I know what you're trying to do. But we're not doing that on today. All right. I said what I said.
Okay,
and it's already out there.
All right.
Ramifications.
Ramifications.
And if that is not the word, we're gonna find out after the fact.
Okay.
Right? But I think sometimes people look at these things and they look at and they don't see the the value of it, because you look at especially in like today's society, where you have people that no longer even believe in monogamous marriage. That is an actual word, and that's exactly what I meant to say. Monogamous.
Yeah. No.
Like
what?
Mud. Not no. Is it mo?
See, you saying words only.
You making me mispronounce the word. You making me. Thank you. That is the word. Ramifications. Thank you. See there.
I just wanted you to spell it.
I study.
Okay.
All right. Okay. But monogamous is basically talking about or monogamy deals with being in a marriage where you believe in only one spouse. We live in a day and time where people believe in things like polygamy, which is having multiple spouses. So just those different things, multiple partners, even. And so, with all of these different things going on, why would we want to be committed to one person? Why would we even want to make that official commitment to where we've made it legal? Of course, there's also the thing when you think about marriage, you can't just opt out of a marriage. You have to go through the legal process of getting a divorce, which can end in so many different ways and have so many different negative effects. So it's like, if I can do everything that I want to do in a relationship without making the crossover steps to being married, then what is the actual benefit of marriage? What is the purpose? What is the reason to get married? We know from a Christian standpoint, the biblical foundation, and we'll get into that. We'll talk about it. But, are there any outside of the faith? Is there any other reasons, any other benefits, any other things that help us to realize why marriage is important? So those are the things we're going to come talk about. So the first thing I want to do is I want to define what a marriage is, or more importantly, I want to let Webster define what marriage is, right? Because, I don't want to do it. But basically it says that marriage is defined as the legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship, historically, and in some jurisdictions, specifically, a union between a man and a woman. So basically, when you think about marriage, it's basically a legal binding union between two people from a traditional or historical standpoint, usually a man and a woman. We also know that that's also biblically. But I want to talk about it from a biblical standpoint because we do know, as we put there in all of our past episodes, that Undefiled is a Christian-based or a biblical-based show that deals with marriage. So we want to make sure that you know that for all of our viewers that are watching. If you don't especially adhere to a more Christian or biblical-based viewpoint, then, just understand that that's kind of the perspective that'll be shared through the show.
Right.
All right. But from the biblical standpoint with God, for marriage, it says that God sketched his original plan for marriage in Genesis 2:24, when he said, one man, which was Adam, and one woman, Eve, were united together to become one flesh. Scripture says, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So we look at the biblical understanding of when marriage was first created and first institutionalized, and there's another big word for you. You see that God created man, Adam, and then when he looked at Adam, he said, man, that's not good for man to be alone. So put Adam to sleep, pulled a rib out of his side, a rib. That's what I said.
You said rib.
But you knew what I meant.
Yeah, but I have to, the people, you got to talk right. Now.
Just because I mix my R's and my W's just a little bit doesn't.
We gonna get you delivered from the R's and W's.
I don't need deliverance. It's coming across clear. The only person that got a problem with it right now
is me. We gonna get together.
But Adam pulled a rib out of Adam. See, you made me miss that part of. So God pulled a rib out of Adam's side, put Adam to sleep. On that rib, he fashioned Eve, and he presented unto her. He looked at her and said, "Whoa, woman, man, woman, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh," and they entered into the union that we now institutionalize as marriage. So again, from biblical and from legal standpoints, marriage is a union of two people that are meant to come together. Another form that the Bible looks at it when it talks about marriage, it talks about it in the form of a covenant. All right, so if you ever had heard the stories of Abraham or stories of Noah, you'll hear about how God formed a covenant with Noah or a covenant with Abraham. And those covenants, or even if you look at the Testaments, the New Testament, Old Testament, another word for those are New Covenant, Old Covenant. And a covenant is basically, again, a binding contract, usually by blood, signifying two people committing to keep a certain level of agreement that should never be severed, right? All right, so that's the constitution, or the foundation of what a marriage is. It's two people basically coming together saying that based off of legal and spiritual understanding, we're saying that we're coming together to never be parted, to never separate. We're making an agreement that we're going forth with this.
Right.
And that is a heavy decision to make.
It is.
It's not something that you should take lightly, because you think about that. That's basically saying that for the rest of the life that I have on this earth, I'm choosing you as the person who I believe that I'm going to spend the rest of their life with.
No matter how much they get on your last nerve, I still chose you.
That last was kind of.
That last nerve.
That was, you put a lot of.
I still choose you. You be hitting the nerve, but
you put a lot of emphasis in that
last nerve.
You like I get on your last nerve a lot.
That last nerve, but I
don't know if I want you out of my hand. Get off me.
I still, for the rest of my life, choose you.
And no matter how much that person begins to, I'm not gonna do you.
No, I'm not gonna
go. We're not doing tit for tat. That's what we're not doing.
Well, I'm gonna tell it.
Well, you know what?
I'm gonna tell.
You know what?
I'm gonna tell it like it is.
You keep on telling it, and the Lord might not hold might not hold my tongue as long.
Well,
you keep on telling it. I got stuff to say too.
Well, the people need
but
to know
grace and mercy
is real and raw.
But
I love you though.
Even when you look at it, so you begin to see that one of the things that you see even with the vows, it talks about for better or for worse, for sickness, for health, until death do us part. All right. And so a lot of times we say those vows out of formality. That's because that's what we're supposed to say. It's what you do at a wedding, but you don't really adhere to the understanding that is really letting you know that once you make this commitment, once you not even just once you sign this paperwork, but once you, and it's not just even the legal about signing the paperwork under God. Once we make this commitment, this is no matter what. So if you don't look the same, it's a song, I think, what was his name? Music Soul Child had a song called Don't Change. Basically, in the song, he lists all of the imperfections that could happen to his wife. You know, she could gain weight. She could not be, not have the working of her limbs, all these different things that could happen. But he said, no matter what takes place, my love for you won't change. And basically, whenever you think about marrying someone or entering into a marriage, that is the commitment that you would make. Now, again, we talked about how there's a lot of people that they don't want to get married, right? And so there's some reasons why people don't want to get married. I found this listed on the internet. I think this was based off a study that they did of people giving reasons on why they would not want to get married, right? So number one is that they're more focused on their career. So you might be at a place where you feel like you got a lot of responsibility for what you have going on. You're trying to build your future, trying to build your life, and you think about marriage as being a weight that would hinder that. So that's one reason that somebody wouldn't get married. Another reason, I'm not saying that's a good reason not to get married. I'm saying that's a reason why people won't get married. Right. All right. Another one was some people had bad experiences with marriage in the past. So basically, maybe you grew up, you saw a marriage. Maybe your mom and your father, they didn't make it. Maybe they were together for a long time. You saw them divorce later. You saw the experiences of that divorce. So it obscures your viewpoint of what marriage is. Or maybe you were married yourself, or you know someone that was married. You saw how that happened, and that bad experience from your personal life or from what you witnessed, it makes you have a different viewpoint on what marriage is. Why would I want to make that type of commitment if it's going to end like that, or if it's a chance it could end like that? So because of what I saw, I'm traumatized. We don't look at it that way, but it traumatizes you to say, I don't want to get married because I don't see it the right way. So when you think about it from that standpoint, there are a lot of people that those types of things hinder them from wanting to get married. Let's see what else we have here. Again, this is just reiterating the same thing, refusing to get married again. And here's the one based off of what I said about the monogamy. Because of the society that we live in now, most people don't believe in a monogamous marriage. So why would I want to get married when I got multiple partners? I think it's a famous, I don't know the guy's name, but I think it's a guy, he's famous about it now, where he has two wives. And they're constantly on there talking about it and expressing, why they chose it. But I don't think they're legally married. So again, it's not a marriage. It's two partners who they've been into a polygamous relationship. But this is becoming more and more common. If you even look on social media now, people are having these types of conversations. They're defending it. They're saying the benefits of it and why these things make sense. And which is the reason why we're having this conversation today. It's like, okay, so if they can have a conversation on why they think this is a benefit, then surely why can't we? All right. Some people look at marriage as being simply a patriarchal institution. So if you're one where you've been kind of fighting for the feminist movement, a lot of times they look at marriage from that viewpoint, like, well, that's from the patriarchal standpoint where men are the head, and it gives it a bad taste from that standpoint. And so we'll get into that. I'll leave that there because I don't want to start off there. Let's see. Financial reasons. People think they can't afford to get married.
Listen, with the financial situation, when me and AC first got together, we was not in we was in a good situation because he did take care of me, but we're a whole lot better off now. So
I took care of her, but listen, when we first got married, I basically introduced her to the struggle. It's kind
of
because she was not like I was like, well, you don't know what this is? Like this is life for me. Like it's hard out here. And she was like, she came from a situation and an environment, and this is good even too when you're thinking about getting married. You have to understand that where you both are. For me, I was coming out of a situation where I was basically borderline homeless, was going from pillar to pole. Now I wasn't there at the time I met her. I'm saying I had came from that. So I was used to struggle. I was used to not having. Whereas my wife, she grew up with a father and mother in the home, and they were both married and both had jobs, and they took care of her, and
had everything. They didn't want for nothing.
she didn't want for nothing, right? And then she met this guy from the streets, grew up in the streets, lived off the streets, and I had a sense of passion to take care of my responsibilities, but I was limited in how financially stable I was to meet those requirements. So she had a roof over her head and all those other things, but she couldn't do whatever she wanted. So that was a big change,
Right.
having chances where lights might get cut off, even though God graced us to where they didn't. All of that was a big change. And so we entered into a marriage where she was like, this is completely unfamiliar.
Right. Like, for a woman, you always feel like, we have to keep our hair done. We have to keep, ourselves together. But when I got married, it was like, oh, so we don't have, $60 for me to go to the hair salon?
I don't.
No perm? We don't have what?
I don't.
But then the thing is, what's crazy is, no, you didn't have it, but it was like, I didn't care. Right. I loved you that much. Like, I didn't care. I'd rather go to the hair store and just get a box perm and have somebody put in it and call it a day. Like, I still want to be with you, even though at that time you didn't have much.
Right. And so you see how some people, they look at those things and they hinder them from entering into a marriage because they pick the importance of the comfort that they get from the financial side versus I'm entering into something to where I might not have those comforts. So the one thing I love that you just shared was, even though you had to lose that comfort that you had prior to marrying me, your love for me overshadowed your comfort. And so you were willing to be uncomfortable for a season for the sake of the marriage.
Right.
And I don't see that in today's society, man. I see where people are trying to marry for comfort.
Right.
And that's not even the purpose of marriage, really. Not even from a biblical standpoint. It was never solely for comfort. You get some level of comfort, yes. Your spouse is supposed to comfort you. But they also come to the Bible says that a wife was created to be a helpmeet, a help suitable for the husband.
Mm-hmm.
So it talks about work. And so marriage can get very ugly.
Right. Like, I came from, like he said, I had a 2-parent household. I didn't want for nothing. Like, we ate every night. We ate good. But, when I got married, we didn't have that much food. So it was plenty of nights that all we had was noodles to eat. And I was happy with that, even though I wasn't used to it, but I was content with eating noodles with him in our apartment.
Look, because I could put some noodles together, boy. I try to tell you.
Put eggs and
boy, by the time I get done, you got to stir fry. You hear me? That's a struggle meal. Listen, right there.
And I struggled with him, and I did not mind. I still love him.
Don't let me find an extra sauce bag. Oh, we about to eat.
Oh, we was good.
I'm trying to
he
tell you.
He didn't have, like, the nicest clothes. And I'm like, but I still mind, though. Like, I still love him. And at that time, if we can be real, like, he came from a place to where, somebody was, I guess, tearing him down. So he had to deal with, I guess, insecurities a little bit.
Not a little bit. I had a lot of them.
Well, yeah.
But at the
same time, yeah, he had a lot of insecurities about himself. And I had to build him up, like, why do you feel this way about yourself? Like, I'm not in this because you don't have to find his clothes. Like, when I met him, my husband had a black car with an oil leak, a window that didn't work. He had no
so
heat.
We going that deep?
Yes, okay. He had no heat.
You ain't even gonna prepare me for it.
Nope.
We didn't talk
had
about
no heat. He had no air. But I rode in that black Honda with him.
But you dragged me for it too.
After we got another car.
Look, one of my closest brothers, right? Supposed to be my best friend at the time. He gets in the car while I got hurt, and we weren't married. Now we were still dating. He gets in the car while she's there, looks at the window that's broken, and goes, well, "That time you want to look at the window, but you can't." And she busts out laughing, and now I'm embarrassed because I'm like, "No, you're gonna really embarrass me. Like, it's already bad enough that I'm trying to." I'm trying to talk to her while this is going on, but you just made it worse. Now you got her laughing at me.
I mean, laughing hard. But I was like, "That's still my man." No, that was funny. But that's still my man. No, I'm gonna ride with you in your car.
I said, "Nah, that boy really drugged me just now."
He
but
did.
The thing that blessed me about what you just said was when you talked about all of the insecurities that I had. One of the things that most people don't realize is that one of the benefits of marriage is the fact if you got a partner that really cares about you, they come to help build you up and to make you stronger, to make you a better version of yourself. And they'll be willing to take on that responsibility. They'll be willing to take on that burden. And on the flip side of that, again, we talked about how marriages work. When my wife got married, she started realizing a lot of the insecurities that I had. But instead of her running from me, or instead of her being ashamed of it, or instead of her looking and saying, well, this isn't what I signed up for, she more so let her love and her compassion towards me help her to push me to be a better man, see myself in a different light. And that's a heavy weight. If you ever dealt with anybody that deals with insecurity about themselves, that's heavy. Because
stick beside them.
She's still here for now. But don't act like you stuck. Because if you really want to tell the truth,
listen,
that first year,
it was.
You was something. It was something.
I ain't gonna lie. I was.
You was like, you ever seen that story? What it's called? Runaway Bride.
I ran away so many times.
We were separated. So I think we were more separated than we was together.
I mean, I was. You said what? I'm gone.
It wasn't enough for her to go back.
You said what?
Her daddy had to tell her, "You married now? Why are you here?"
Because he done got on my nerves.
And so, I mean, it's real, but it takes like you realizing, okay, these are the things, and you end up having to face these monstrosities, and that's what we call them, these unknown issues and burdens that come out of nowhere. But you have to be willing to say, can I love you in spite of it?
Right.
And again, going back to the insecurity part, when you got somebody that's battling with those things, a lot of times they don't even realize it. It shaped their mindset, their mannerisms, their actions, and a lot of different things. And that's a lot to have to love out of somebody, because now you have to prove to them that you're not who they used to.
Right.
You know, and even for my wife, it was the same way. Her past and her history allowed her to have some insecurities that I had to bear the full weight of. I had to come and deal with the full responsibility of everything that she dealt with in her past, and be able to love in spite of. You know, you're treating me like the person that did you that way. You're not treating me like my history of how I treated you.
Anything that he did that looked like my past, I was gone. Because I'm not dealing with it. It just looked too familiar. I don't want nothing to do with it. So I left. I ain't got far, but I left.
Right. I literally got to the point where I just went back and got it. I said, we're not doing this. We gonna make this work. But again, it had to come with that understanding. And I think a lot of what helped us make it through some of those hard times, because I'll be honest, we went through things that, especially in our first year, just the conversations, the arguments, we went through some stuff that I think a lot of people divorced over. But I believe what kept us was that, you know, we had a Christian foundation about, you know, you just don't run from marriage. And then I remember even in one of our darkest seasons when we were separating and she was crying, you know, I didn't cry.
Okay, you didn't cry.
I think I called my mom, and she made us turn around immediately, and she just prayed for us. But it's stuff like that, having people that you can trust that can pray for you, really add the value of prayer, and standing on a sure foundation. Those things help in the darkest moments of marriage, but we tend to not take those into consideration.
That argument, like, we have not had another argument that heated since 2013. Like, it was to the point I was so done with him. Like, I packed my clothes and I told him to take me home, take me back to my dad's house. I threw my ring away and everything. Like, it's just.
We never found that ring.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Yeah, it was behind the door underneath some stuff.
I never found that ring. I know that.
Well, it was that bad. And so when we say marriage, what, like, you have to stick these things out. Because if we was dating, I really think that would have been the end of us. Because that was my way out. I had no commitment, so.
And that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't get married for, is because they're afraid of the bad side, the bad thing. What is it about you that I have not learned, right? And then when I find it out, I'm going to want to leave. Well, like my wife just said, you know, when we started seeing some of these things about ourselves, because we were married, we stuck it out. But had we been dating, we probably wouldn't have been together. Like, and I think we had that conversation before. Like, if we wouldn't have got married when we did, we might not have been together because of what we experienced in our first year. But I'm grateful because I really believe, honestly, that I married my soulmate. I really,
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
I really believe that I married the best person for me, but it didn't feel like that within the first year. And it's like how easy it is when you're not committed, when you
Right.
have not made a covenant, something that binds you together, because that's kind of what marriage is. That's the whole point of the ring. It's a binding. That's why it's called a marriage band. When you don't have that thing that binds you together, it's a lot easier to say, okay, you know what? I don't have to take this,
Right.
right?
But let's
You
make it
know,
through.
it took her a while to get that point. Like, yo, we married now. You do actually have to take
Yeah.
this.
But see, at the point in time, he was more of a, he was like, we have to do this. And I'm like, no, we don't. Or at least not. I don't have to do this. But as I grew and I grew more spiritually, then I realized like I still love him. Like I can't just leave. Like my heart is with him. And so it's just like we got to make this work because I don't want nobody else. He didn't want nobody else. So let's just put this aside and figure out what's the issue. What can we do to change and move forward?
Because whenever you think about getting married to a person, you're thinking about building a life with them. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that people make in marriage is they let the children become the purpose of the marriage. That's not necessarily the best thing either, because now you built a life where you're just kind of cohabiting. You might even be, staying committed faithfully, but you're still only sticking around on the main reason why you're trying to make it work is the kids. And that's not healthy for your marriage either. Because I think the divorce rate for people once the children move out is actually high as well. And so one of the things you have to be intentional about is really like I see someone said in the comments, know why are you getting married? What's our goal here? What are we trying to achieve? We know as Christians, one of the, and I say this too for those that are believers, one of the it's not I don't want to say it's unnecessary, but you don't want this to be the leading factor. Now, most people won't admit that it is, but one of the things that can be a leading factor to why Christians get married, especially quickly, is sex.
It's sex.
Because especially if you're trying to live the way God wants you to live, and so you're trying to be committed, you're trying to be pure, and then you meet the person, and then you get to a place where you don't want to sin, so you say, okay, you know what? The answer is marriage, and then we'll figure everything else out along the way.
Right.
Now, even when you look at it from a biblical standpoint, a lot of times that's kind of how they did it traditionally. So they would meet the person, they would spend a year kind of talking about how they were going to get married in the courting stage, and then they really didn't enter into their relationship until the day of marriage. And they kind of built their life from there. But of course, that was back when things were a lot more traditional. The culture was a lot different. In our culture today, we don't necessarily do marriage that way. We don't do the year. Now, some people still keep the tradition of being engaged for a year. We definitely did.
We definitely did it. We wasn't even dating a year.
No.
At all. We did that thing quick. We did it quick.
But whenever you look at it, the reason for it is because you're trying to get to a place where you're trying to be where you want to be in God, but you just don't want sex to be the leading thing. We talked about, I think it was the last episode, we dealt with how that kind of played a negative part in our marriage, because we talked about entanglement. So yeah, we did. And so you have to go back to watch that episode. But just
go ahead.
Just to kind of give us some insight. So you don't want that to be the leading reason, but for some Christians that can be that, because they know that, okay, for me to stay where God wants me to be, I have to wait to get married, but I don't want to drag out getting married because I kind of want what I want right now. Right. And so you see a lot of, or you have seen in the past, where you have Christians that enter into unstable marriages because sex was the focus versus who is this person? What do they want? What's their goal? What's their purpose in life? What are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to reach? What are they trying to develop? How are they benefiting my life? How are we going to grow together? Some of the things you want to ask. You want to have these conversations when you're thinking about marriage. When you actually sit down and say, you know what, we're going to live our life together. That's the type of thing you want to ask. Okay, what are you, not necessarily quote unquote, and we'll get to that. That's the name of one of our next episodes called Table Manners, when we talk about what are you bringing to the table. But so what are we looking for when are we moving in together? You know, I would hope that would be the answer. But you know, are we moving into the house that I have? Are we moving into the house that you have? Do they have a house? You know, what's your future goal? What's your 5-year plan? What's your plan of your finances? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? How do you see that benefiting with me in your life?
And let me say something. We didn't have none of these plans. We just wanted to be married.
We got married on a whim. I ain't even gonna lie.
I mean, we loved each other.
We got married.
Everybody, take your time. Which is good. I'm not down with what they said, but yeah, we even had no counseling. We just got married and we just figured everything else out later.
And the reason why that worked was because of our foundation.
Right.
But I come to see the benefit. Like it was somebody who told us, because we had children after our first year of marriage. Mm-hmm. And there was somebody who told us, you should wait. You should enjoy your marriage a little bit first.
Baby, listen. I love my kids now, don't get me wrong.
But if we could redo it,
we would have waited. I would have waited about 5 years.
I don't know about no 5 years.
No, about.
But I would have waited because we didn't get what they were saying at the time, but it made sense later.
We looking like, you don't tell us what to do. We can have kids, but yeah.
Now every marriage is different, but that's just some of the things that you kind of take into context. Okay, because for example, we already had kids when we got married, which is the reason why. It didn't make sense to us. Like, we got kids already, so it don't really matter if we, choose to have one together. But, we saw that, okay, having one together put a lot more responsibility on the marriage itself. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it could have been, we could have waited.
Now it's us with the child, and you can't send the child with the daddy because
I'm the daddy.
He can't leave for the weekend.
They got a new TikTok out talking about, isn't this your weekend to get the kids?
Yeah.
And then they say back, I'm your husband.
Right. You were the daddy. Ooh, Jesus. So I'm like, that was a toll. But we made it through. But it's like after that first child we had together, it's like they kept coming.
I don't know who fault that was. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Because you about to drag it out.
Tell it.
But I want to talk about they got some reasons here that I found. I went through just kind of did a search on the internet, and apparently somebody did I guess some type of research testing to where they got some statistics on marriage, right? On the benefits of marriage. They came up with some of course you got the legal benefits. So now I'll say this just in reference. For those who don't know, some of the legal benefits of marriage. Now, if you're like cohabiting to where you're just like, oh, we don't need to be married. We're already doing everything that married people do, whatever. Some of the legal benefits of marriage is things like inheritance. So say, for example, if something was to happen to my wife, it's a lot easier for me to inherit all of the things that belong to her, the estate, without me having to go through things like probate court, simply because we were already married. That's, of course, with her not having what they call a will. So if she never had a will in place, then it's a lot easier for things to fall to me as the spouse versus if we were cohabiting, then I would basically have to fight for those types of things in court. So the same instance, it also is, especially in some states, when it comes to paternity, when it comes to the children, one of the things I found out, even though with my twins and my sons, I was in their life, me and their mom, we weren't together, but I was in their life. I was there for every doctor's visit and all those types of things. And my name was on the birth certificate and all of that. But even with all of those things in place in South Carolina, I still had no legal right to make decisions on their behalf, even though I signed a birth certificate as a father, even though I was present for everything as a father. Especially when it came to medical things, I had no legal right to make those types of decisions simply because we were not married. But in South Carolina, with me and my wife, because we were married when she had the child, without even having to have a paternity test, I automatically have legal right to make those types of decisions. So there's legal benefits that come with getting married that just, you don't have to deal with certain stresses and that come into the relationship to where it's like I said, if you're not married, now you have to prove paternity as the father to make those types of decisions but marriage helps you to circumvent that, right? All right. So then there are other reasons. They got emotional reasons why marriage is good. There's actual research that says that couples who are married actually live longer. Um, it says research consistently shows that couples in a committed marriage even live longer than those who are single, cohabiting, or divorced. To start, they would say the question is why. And they say to start, the reason why is the emotional support that is possible in a marriage provides each partner with the feeling of being heard. And they say licensed clinical social workers and psychotherapists, her name is Shira Bernstein, says, particularly for men, being in a stable relationship allows men to break out of the gender expectation and roles with statements that exist, such as men don't cry or men don't talk about their feelings. Having a partner provides a safe space to be able to verbalize emotions. And I'll even say that a lot of times, even for me as a man, um, there are just certain parts of myself that I don't show to certain people, because of the fact that, we do have, whether people want to admit it or not, I know we live in a day society now where, we don't have to do the gender role thing, but there is still yet an expectation, especially for men, we don't really get a pass to not be men. There's an expectation of what people expect from men. And so some of the things is they expect a certain level of preeminence or dominance or stability and self-control and emotional control. And I've even seen the memes and the jokes now where they joke about men that are unstable or they just want to do this and they just want to do that. But, you said that you wanted it, and then now that it's happening, you see the viewpoint that people have, right? So basically, it puts a lot of men in a space to where they don't really have a lot of spaces where they can share their emotions, share how they really feel. And so for them to get to that place where they do talk, it doesn't come overnight. You're talking about where I've lived in a society where I've been taught to guard myself, gird myself, not to be expressive, not to be vulnerable. Maybe I've had experiences, and I've had definitely as a man, to where I've tried to be open to some people, certain women, and then those women would use that vulnerability in times of arguments, bring up the things that I shared, the thoughts I thought were secret, and they would use that to scar. So now I don't trust women to show myself to be vulnerable, but I can't because, when I did it, you called me weak, or you brought it up when we were arguing, or you brought it up in front of friends or whatever. You put it all on Facebook, it's a new thing. So it creates a space where it's a lot harder to get to that shell that men put up. And even women do this sometimes. So it's not just solely to men. And so, again, the benefit of a marriage is because you have been committed and together for a long time, you've proven the security of I'm going to be there through thick and thin. You can get past those walls, those scars, those hindrances.
It took him a good little while to be able to open up to me because I would ask him over and over, what's wrong? What's going on? What's going on in your head? What you thinking about? I'm good. No, I'm good. I'll be all right. What's going on? Nothing. I'm good. And he's broken on the inside for whatever reason, and I don't know nothing about it. So he's carrying around a burden. There's something that I could have helped with, but since he's been scarred, it's hard for him to trust. So it took he'd do it now, but we had to get to that point so he was able to open up.
And like she said, it's a process, but it's healthier for the person. So it becomes easier to deal with it and process your emotions because you have somebody that cares and that you find out that cares, that you're able to share with and you're able to release those burdens to, And so I had to, be careful because, with my wife being one of the few, if not, almost the only, I try not to put everything on her, just go off on her.
But see, I be wanting him to do that, but he don't want to put all of. I'm like, we can carry this burden together. We can take it before the Lord and give it to Him so we can be free, because He told us to give it to Him.
And so that's a good thing that people don't realize. It's like you have to look at that from a standpoint. It has some emotional benefits, So we talked about the emotional support, how that helps live longer life, and it also talks about how it helps people to fight depression. Another emotional thing because you have that partner who you can comfort and confide in, and then even from, like I said, from a Christian standpoint, when you're married, you have the right to be intimate. The intimacy, all of that ministers to the emotional and psyche of a person, because it's something that the body naturally produces called serotonin, which is like a natural antidepressant. helps fight anxiety, helps fight depression, and all those different things. Well, from the standpoint of marriage, that's a major benefit and boost to the psychology of a person. And so people ask the question, is sex important in marriage? Very much
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Not just the sexual release, but what happens to the body after the sexual release is actually helping to reset and to deal with. So, people don't realize like those types of things are good for emotional and physical health.
Right.
In the long run. And so, don't let yourself deprive your spouse of that thing either. Just because y'all might be going through a season where it's a lot harder, and people use sex as a reason to get back at your spouse. That's not healthy. It's not just not healthy for the sake of infidelity, but it's not healthy for the emotional support and all of those other things that go into it. Because a lot of times people don't realize that that's one of the benefits of sex is that it releases certain endorphins in your body that also ministers to your mental health, your emotional health, and all these different things. So again,
and you notice as a married couple, if you feel like you and your spouse has been going at it, sometimes I feel like, are we even like for us? Like, are we going at it because when do we need to be having sex? Like, when the last time? Why are we arguing? Like, what's going on? And it's like sometimes we can get so, I guess, doing with the kids and work and job and family till we forget about each other. We get in the bed and we're tired. We're going to sleep because we got to do the same thing over the next morning with the kids and family. But it's important for, I say, a married couple to come together as often as possible,
right,
to keep them arguments down. They gonna come, but
to help get at a place to where y'all both are, because sometimes the reason why you're having the arguments is because of the frustration of a spouse, and maybe that frustration is built from something that they're not realizing what it is. And then because of the intimacy, which isn't always just sex, it begins before sex. But the intimacy helps to get them at a place to where they're thinking clearer, and not thinking from a frustrated place and not thinking from an aggravated place. And so it helps them to be more focused. And so again, most of the time we don't look at it from that standpoint, but it's a good way to understand and to see it. That's why it is a gift of marriage. One of the greatest gifts that God gave. I definitely enjoy it. I'm so appreciative to Him thinking of blessing us with.
What's the gift, baby?
You know.
What's the gift, baby?
You know what the gift is.
What's the gift?
You know what the gift is. Matter of fact, you can't enter into marriage without folks opening that gift.
No.
That's how you consummate the marriage. I don't let me get deep now.
The preacher voice.
The preacher voice almost came out. That's the final step.
Oh
I
my
don't know that goes
gosh.
in the name of Jesus, the Son, and the Father.
Oh my gosh.
He blessed us with a gift.
He did. He's so stupid.
But again, so when you look at it again, why would you get married? From a legal standpoint, it puts you in a better place than just cohabiting. From an emotional standpoint, because of the commitment, because there's a level of trust. Because I know that with us being married, I know that there is high divorce rate. I know people still deal battle with infidelity, but one thing that marriage brings is a sense of security. Because I know that she, even though she might be able to walk out the door, it just isn't just over because you committed to it. When we said I do, when we said that when I proposed rather, and she said she would or she will or she does or I do. However, it's been so long.
I don't know. I was crying. I don't know what I said.
You were crying because you thought I didn't get you there. That's what you were crying.
I'm not gonna go there.
That's what you were crying for. Tell the truth. But when we made the commitment, it put a sense of security there because you were willing to invest into something that's for a lifetime. Our Bishop Parrott, phenomenal author, phenomenal vocal artist, wrote a song on a project he called Kingdom Love, called For a Lifetime. And that's essentially what marriage is. It's for a lifetime. It's a lifetime of work and dedication. But it has so many different, wonderful benefits because of her commitment to me. I now have a partner that works alongside me, that I'm able to do a lot of things that I'm doing today. You heard her say how she had to help me become a better me. I'm a better person today because of my wife. She really did help me to see myself in a better way. I needed her. It wasn't just, I could use her or she might be a benefit, but the Bible says that, the woman was created for the man. I'm a better man because my wife took her responsibility, played her role, played her part. And I'm so appreciative. She saw where I was weak at, saw the areas I needed help, and took it upon herself to be that for me. And in the same aspect, as a husband, as a provider, I took that role. I wasn't good at it at first, you know. Um,
But you
you
did
know,
the best you
I,
could at that
and I
time.
didn't say this is where we'll be. I
Mm-hmm.
looked at where she came from. I looked at what she was used to, and I said, okay, if that's what you're used to, it's my responsibility to make sure that we get to that place. Whether we do it solely off of my income, whether we have to make two incomes, whatever we got to do, is I took you from your place of comfort, took your last name, put my name on it. Now you're my responsibility. I don't get to shake that burden. I don't get to put that to the side. I
And
have
I'll
to.
put that out there, baby. You did that because we have been married in April, going on 9 years, and I have not worked. I worked one job, and that was like for maybe 6 months. But I have not worked since we have been married, and you have took care of me, and you have taken care of our children. We struggled, but you did it, and now we are at a so much better place than what we were.
Because I believe the Bible. Now, I've been trying not to go full on preacher mode, but one
You
thing,
believe the Bible way?
not for real, because it's the scripture says that he that finds a wife finds a good thing and then obtains much favor from the Lord. That's what the Bible says, right? So the moment that me and you got together, the first thing I encountered after I made the decision that you were going to be my wife was the favor of God. You think about how we got the apartment. We got a 2-bedroom apartment for the price that most people don't even pay for a studio apartment. It was
Yes.
cheaper than a studio. We moved in with furniture. Just about all of it was donated and given, right? And I made enough to cover the bills, even though was basically struggling. But I made enough to cover all of the bills. It was basically set up for us to live just like how we were going to live. And we were able to move from that place to the next place to the next place. Everything that we ever accomplished, never accomplished solely off my might alone. Always with the hand of God on it.
Yes.
And so even most people don't realize, like, if you stand on the word, like the word backs marriage. God backs marriage. He definitely is pro marriage. And his word is sure. So if you really don't see how you can, and that goes back to the financial side. From a financial standpoint, when we first said yes, no, it did not make any sense. But because we were both committed, we both had love, and we stood on faith on the word, our marriage was able to make it because we stood on the fact that, okay, if I found my wife, I found a good thing.
Right.
And I got to obtain favor from the Lord because of my commitment to her. That's another part of it that I had to learn too, even with dealing with you. I'll say this just as a caveat, and then we'll get into the card game. But during our first years, I would go to God a lot. This she's all right. This is she's something else here. And then God kind of took me to the scripture that talks about how if you don't treat your wife right, your prayers won't be heard. And I'm like,
Bro.
all right, cool. All right,
What Z said, bro, chill out.
Like that. It was just like, but it put me to a place to where the scripture literally made me a better man too. And so that's why I had to reiterate, you got to be on the sure foundation of the word. You can never go wrong with letting your marriage be built off of the word of God. It's going to keep you. It's going to safeguard you. It makes you look at yourself. The scriptures really point out your flaws. And I really am pro marriage, but I'm also pro marriage from a biblical standpoint because I believe those are the things that help you to be committed. I am completely against this thing now, to where people believe that all of the marriages that we saw growing up, and the reason why they ended in divorce is simply because two people fake being in love, and it's not the case. I believe that they were genuinely in love, and they were in love for the time that they were in love, but marriages work until the day you die.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Work.
It never stops. Just because the children grow old,
right,
you still got to put in the work. Just because you're in your 70s, you still got to put in the work. If you ever look for a reason to not make it work, you'll find it.
You will.
It's
plenty of reasons to not make it work.
But as long as you're willing to say that you're worth it, or you look at your spouse and say that they're worth it, then you're able to make it work. So every day that I wake up, I say today is a day that I'm going to love her regardless. I don't always feel like loving her, And I'm pretty sure she don't always feel like loving me. Don't need the facial expression.
Okay. You was about to get one.
I know it.
You felt it.
I felt it coming. I saw it. I saw it.
I saw it.
In the
See, that's
spirit.
why we won. Because you know your wife. It's all good though.
But regardless of how we feel, we still love one another. And so that's all. Man. So when you think about it, again, what's the benefit of getting married? The benefits of getting married is you get that partner that you can live with, you can enjoy, you can spend the rest of your life with. You get that person that you can build a foundation with. It's a person that knows you. You become one, right? Like she was just saying, how we become one. You know, I don't think we had the part yet where we finish each other's sentences. Cause she be saying some off the wall stuff. So
don't do that.
You do.
I don't be saying no off the wall stuff.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You know, I don't be knowing where you be coming from.
Name one.
I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to embarrass you.
Well, bad.
That's what it is. Because it took me forever to figure out who George was.
That's a family name.
See that? Yeah.
Don't even do that. Get my dad on the line.
No, don't bring your dad in there. We almost divorced over George.
Yo, George is an inside joke that he won't let it go.
You
George came from one of the shows in Medea, and she'd be like, "Oh, George," and I said, "Who is George? Who is George?" And I'm like, "George he's not."
Come on, old George. My name ain't nowhere near no George.
Let me call my daddy. It's from Medea. Don't worry about it.
She really had to call her daddy because you said to call me no other guy name, and we're not gonna deal with
no
this.
other guy. It came, and we just be saying.
Talking about it's from a movie. What movie?
It was from Medea, and me and my family always saying some off the wall stuff.
You gonna tell me what movie it's from? Play the part. Pull it up. I can't play it. All we got is a DVD player. Well, go get the DVD. Go get the DVD. Put it in the DVD player and play the part. We ain't gonna stop arguing till I see it.
I had to show this man who George was. I'm like, it's just awful. Get to the card game because you showed out. I'm just saying,
not.
You showed out that.
Oh, George, what?
It's from Medea.
All right. So as stated, now we're gonna get your hands off me. I'm already upset all over again. Get off me. I don't even want to play. We can just end the line right here.
And you know who George is.
Who?
Oh my gosh.
I still don't know who George is.
From Medea. My dad done told you who George is because he called George too.
Anyway, tonight's conversation is probably flipped around. But tonight's conversation is there's the camera. All right. Tonight's conversation, and it's the Connecting Couples Day. We found it on the internet, and we just wanted to again play it in front of you all again. Did we ever say who won?
Nope.
Oh, Charlika Brown was the winner. She guessed it right. So she's the one that we selected as the winner for the prize. Yay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give them a fresh copy, not this one, but a fresh unopened copy, as I drop the box in my lap, of the card game for them to play, for her to play with her spouse. So prayerfully you enjoy it, and congratulations to Charlika for winning. Thank you for playing the game, and we will continue to do these giveaways. So make sure y'all tune in. Each and every time it will be a different type of gift, so it won't always be the same thing. So you won't always know what you're gonna get. All right. So you want to go first?
Yeah.
So we're just gonna play it real quick, just so you kind of get the idea of how it
about 6 minutes.
Yeah. All right.
You probably just gonna do about 2 or 3.
So basically, what it is, this is a card deck with different questions, and so what it is you basically, shuffle the cards, put the cards on the table. Yeah, you and your spouse take turns pulling the card. Each card has a question on it. You ask the spouse your question, and you have to answer or respond. In a general, not a general, but in an honest way. All right.
Okay, this card says, which 2 traits from each of us do you want our children to inherit?
I would say it's my question. You were asking me. See that?
Oh, that's how. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
She just got to talk.
Go ahead.
All right. Which 2 traits do I want our children to inherit from the both of us? For me, I would love for our children to inherit my uh in-depth study of the Word of God.
Oh.
I would definitely agree. Just because I see the way society is going, and so I think it'll be a strong benefit. From you, I would definitely want them to develop the compassion. You are very compassionate and loving and caring and kind for the right people. I wish we, us can be for everyone. Yeah, we'll get there. The Lord is. So just get that compassion that you have, and that'll be great. All right, my turn. Okay. What are your expectations of me inside this marriage?
I expect you. Say, my expectations are, for you to continue to be a wonderful provider and um, help me raise these children. That's what I expect right now. To help me raise these children.
Why you can't just expect me to come home and eat?
Expect me. I expect you to take these children, take them to the park.
What?
That's my expectations.
No,
take them to the store with you. Okay.
We ain't gotta take them to the park.
Yes.
They don't even like going to the park.
They do love going to the park. They like going to Chuck E. Cheese and.
That's not the park. So you got to pay to get in the Chuck E. Cheese.
Take them. That's my expectations.
You just want some me time.
And do. You ready for this question?
I don't know. What did it say?
What's your favorite part of our sex life?
Pull another card. Pull another card. Pull another card.
Oh, you want to put another card?
Hold on.
What's your favorite part of our sex life?
Pull another card. Hold on. You get this card.
Oh, now you. Okay.
So definitely a game to play, not on camera.
He'll answer that off camera.
Yeah.
Do you feel like I keep secrets from you? Why not?
Oh, that's a good one. Honest answers, right?
Yes.
I feel like you do keep secrets, but I also feel like you do tell me. I feel like you have seasons where you keep it to yourself. And eventually, when you can't hold it any longer, you let me know what's going on. But I don't feel like you are keeping secrets that I have yet to find out about. And I hope I'm right.
Yeah, you are. There's some things that I don't tell you, but eventually I do tell you if I feel like it's overwhelming. Because I do acknowledge you as my covering, and I don't want to be burdened down with things that you don't know nothing about, and I walking around with all kind of chaotic things in my mind that my husband don't know, because you are my covering.
Right.
So
you better know it.
And I know it better.
It's my turn.
Oh, go ahead.
Nah.
Come on, we got 2 minutes.
This is a good one. What moment in my past do you wish you could have experienced with me? Explain.
This may sound real like what, but I wish I could have experienced when you were homeless. And I guess the reason why is because like the way I love you, like you did it now, but I wouldn't want you to experience that alone. Like being out there, nowhere to go, didn't have anything to eat, you know what I'm saying? I don't want you to experience that alone, so I would want to experience that with you. Because at least you'll have me, at least you'll have some company while you're homeless, at least.
But would you be company, or would you be, why are we homeless? Why we ain't got nothing to eat?
I'll be company.
If you coming with that kind of energy, I'll stick by myself.
I'll be company.
But I think if you go come along with that type of vibe for the right reason.
No, I would want to experience that with you.
Because I know in the movies they make that stuff look real lovely. They all hugged up and in love, and in real life.
Listen.
But again, that's kind of just a demonstration of how the card game is played. So we definitely just wanted to demonstrate that for you all. Also, just for the couple that did win, so that they can kind of get a feel of the gift that they were getting. Again, we thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate everyone's participation and viewership for today's episode, Marriage for What. We will be back next month to continue this series. I think we have another 2 or 3 episodes left for the first season. Might be a little bit more than that. I think it's maybe 4. I'm not sure. So then after that, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back for season 2, which will reveal when we get closer to the end of season 1. But again, we'll be back next week. We'll be doing another giveaway. Of course, as always, we love doing our giveaways. We appreciate everyone for participating. So make sure you look out for the flyer that will come out for your chance to participate in the giveaway. As always, the giveaways will be different in size and in scope. We are looking at potentially doing a giveaway of a free trip. Yeah. I've actually been looking into that. So we're looking at possibly doing that. So you never know what the size of the giveaway might be and how big of the blessing. So I have to be definitely planning, because if I do give away a trip, then I have to take her on one as well. So you saw the face that I got. So definitely, but yeah, we are looking to do a lot of good things, a lot of big things. So continue to view. As always, you can find us on the Facebook page, The Davis Clan. You can also find us on YouTube at The Davis Clan. On Periscope, on TikTok, The Davis Clan, also on Instagram, The Davis Clan. So everywhere that you can go on social media, The Davis Clan. We appreciate those of you that tuned in as a part of our live virtual audience. Those that will be watching the replay of this video cast. The official podcast will be coming out soon and very soon. We are going to podcast. I was gonna say see the king, because that's how the song goes.
Oh, Lord. Y'all continue to keep us in y'all prayers as we go forth in
this endeavor.
What?
I finished the sentence. That wasn't what you were gonna say.
No, it was not. No. As we go forth in these podcasts, I should say.
Podcasts. All right. Thank y'all again for tuning in. We'll be back in another month with the next episode. Love y'all. Peace and blessings.